Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Brandon Kopp, co-founder of HBG Capital. And today I have got I am really excited about this guest, the guy's days. I've got Maurice Philogene on the show. Rather than give this guy a formal introduction on his background and everything, I just want to name a couple of the things that this guy has done that we're going to unpack and go in today. So he is the host of the Try Life On podcast. He's been deployed 4 times, retired as a colonel, became a federal agent, started a private equity firm, was in tech for 25 years, police officer for 25 years, and he's done some cool stuff like develop real estate on an island. He's owned a few restaurants and clubs. He's got a portfolio of real estate with him and his partners owning over $100 million. He's been to over 99 countries. He's a father of 2 boys. And he's acted in a couple of movies and TV shows. If that's not trying life on, I don't know what is. Maurice, welcome to the show. It is great to have you.
My pleasure. You know what? I'm gonna take that post from now on and tell people to use it as an intro for a podcast because you made me sound like a rock star.
Dude, you are a rock star. There's no debating it. This is some cool stuff that I dream of actually doing a few things. I've got a friend here, or I guess I should say an acquaintance. She's not a friend, but she's like developing like an island. And I'm like, developing an island. Like I'm developing some parcels here in Nashville, Tennessee, and building some communities. And I'm like, man, developing an island.
Oh,
That has got to be stinking cool. So I definitely want to hear about the ins and outs of that.
sure.
Before we jump into all of this, for those that don't know who you are, what's your
Mm.
story?
Oh, that's um, okay. So when I tell my quote unquote story, I try to start at the end. I think it's more relevant. But I'm 49. I just turned 49 happily. I'm out of the work world, traditional work world, for about 3, 4 years now. Um, Born in New York, raised in Boston. I'm based out of Washington, D.C. through Washington, D.C. area, through University of Virginia, Haitian immigrant kid. Traditionally, because everybody talks about what they did for work, right? So I'll just do that really quick. But I was an executive at Accenture, which is a global IT consulting firm, for 25 years. I was in the military for 22 as a federal agent, retired as a lieutenant colonel. And then later in my career, when I hit age 33, I had a childhood dream to be a police officer. So I chased that down and was able to do it and mesh it into my other career. So I did it all at the same time. The real estate journey was not a money journey. It was a journey related to, I had an experience when I was 15 traveling. It proved to me that the world was a lot bigger than Boston, Massachusetts. I wanted to experience that more. French funeral, French wine, French castles, French people, just French. Like it was a 30-day road trip around France with the family of an exchange student that stayed with me. And then I found a financial book when I was 21 that led me down the passive income path and a realization, which was, look, man, if you can create some relative passive income or some kind of income streams, then you can
Mhm.
create time or control. And if you can create control, then you can go have more of those experiences you had, like that trip when you were 15. And
Yeah.
that's what started this whole like, I'm going to go after real estate to control my time, my space, my mental capacity. But then I started to realize that once you have enough money to cover your basic needs, you learn that life is not about money in the first place. So I focused my entire adult life on having experiences and building relationships, man. So that's why the 100 countries and why I'm so in tune to people and why I like building relationships and stuff. And it's been a journey. So, but it's just yeah, man, I am the epitome of trying life on now I understand it. And someone who
Mhm.
really doesn't care about status quo. I just think that we have this one life and one opportunity to build a life book. So I tend to take calculated risk and to live a little. And, it's gotten me where I've gotten.
Man, I love the journey here. You're the host of the Try Life On podcast. For those
Yeah.
that don't know what the Try Life On concept is, can you unpack that?
Yeah, it keeps evolving because I keep meeting people. So it's a wonderful thing. But Try Life On is my attempt to express to people that life, there is no destination in life. It is
Mm.
something that you practice over time. We are all pushed into the system of going to school, having formal education, and along the way, kindergarten is very creative. We're eating glue, we're throwing paint on the wall. You and I are exploring neighborhoods, riding our bikes, jumping over a fence. We have no constraint on our mind whatsoever that what life is. We just do it. Yeah, we get into middle school, and it's happening to my son now. Compliance is kicking in. Like, get your homework in, have this permission slip signed, do all this stuff. Then you and I got into high school, and this is where I think things veer off. And I want people to pay attention to this. Of We're starting to get into this competition mode with each other, which is me and Brandon got to compete for who's going to be the MVP, who's going to be the valedictorian, who's going to be the prom king, the prom queen, who's going to go to Yale, Harvard versus who's going to go to the community college. We're just pit against each other. To me, that translates into the work world, or it translates into college, and it translates into the work world in the form of now Brandon and Maurice are fighting to be executive VP sitting in the cube on the third floor. It never stuck with me. I could not really process that whole thing. What did stick with me was what I told you, which was I had these experiences when I was young, and those
Mhm.
experiences drove emotion, and that emotion made my life feel good. And I liked that notion. So when I got out of college, it was either work for Accenture, which is a global consulting firm. You could work at different clients and have different experiences, or my other potential position was to work at Procter and Gamble. No diss to Procter and Gamble, but I didn't want to sit in a factory in the same place every day over and over for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I just figured some stuff out. And the way that I articulate Try Life On now is orienting your life around five freedoms, attacking five freedoms: time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, which is about mobility, not travel, freedom to execute your purpose, hence me being a police officer when I was 33, 34, and then freedom to build meaningful relationships. There's not a, like, I can name 30 countries I'll land today and a friend will pick me up. That's how you want to feel. So trying life on is about going after the emotions in life that truly make you feel, "Ah, this is why I was put on this earth, to feel good."
Mhm.
This thing that we do where we chase titles and we go to networking events and we, to be blunt, kiss ass. And it's not just in corporate life or government life, it's also in entrepreneurial life too. I have 2,000 units of real estate. I don't want 10,000 units of real estate. I think it's too much. It will add zero value to my life.
Mm.
But we have this notion of competition. If Brandon has 2,000, I guess I have to have 2,000. So you spend chunks of your life chasing other people's versions of success. Stop. Chase your own version. Become unapologetic. Make your extraordinary ordinary. Stop saying if only and start saying what if. Like, change your mindset. You can rewire. So I help people do that through Try Life On. I introduce people to concepts that I've learned over time, and also to people on the podcast who are living life their way so others can have some relative motivation or a model to follow.
What really stuck out with me when I heard "Try Life On," and it kinda stuck
Yeah.
with me for the first time, compared it to Halloween. We got Halloween coming up in a month or so, and every year you get
Mm-hmm.
excited. You're like, "Oh, I wanna be this thing that I've always wanted to be." And when you were a kid, it was Power Rangers for me, and then it was like
Mm-hmm.
Ninja
Mm-hmm.
Turtles, and as an adult, it's kinda funny. I think I dressed up as, like, Alex Hormozy last year for fun, just to be weird and do that. I was like, "That'll be, like, unique." And,
Yeah.
this year,
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm gonna be. But my
Mm-hmm.
pregnant wife, she's gonna be a trucker, and she's got this big old beer belly that we're gonna, like,
Good for
really
her.
emphasize on it. But
Congrats.
it's fun to like you said, pursue the emotions, try something on every single year, do something new. And I see the experiences now, it's like a costume that you can kind of go put on
Yes. I
whatever
love
you
that.
want. Go and put on that outfit, whatever that is. That's what really hit for me. Like, oh my
I love
gosh,
that.
like
I love
that's how
that.
easy it is. So, like, instead of wearing the costume, go out and wear that experience, become whatever that is, go through that adventure. So that really stuck with me. And I love that concept. And you're right. We have this issue where everybody's using other people's measuring stick to measure their own success in life. And then they climb this corporate ladder and they find out they're 50, 60 years old and they've been climbing the wrong stinking ladder.
Yeah.
What do you what do you feel like
Mhm.
is is the solution to break that pattern? For you, take us back to that moment. You said you were 15 years old. You obviously
Mhm.
discovered this
Mhm.
at a very, very young age. I mean,
I
decades
got lucky.
before most people. What was it? Was it just the unique experience traveling that woke you up? Like, what was there had to have been, I kind of compare it to a point. For me, it was getting fired from my job, the red pill and the blue pill. I took that. I'm like, oh my God, like I don't actually have to show up to a job every day if I've got money in the bank account. Holy schmoly, I can actually go out and try to make money myself and go travel and not be weighed down. Like there was a very clear red pill, blue pill moment for me. Was there a red
Yeah.
pill, blue pill moment for you? And what do you think other people can do to create their own red pill, blue pill moment?
I'm not saying there was a red blue pill moment for me, but I that real so those are the two catalytic events for me. It's the traveling in France when I was 15 for 30 days. My
Okay.
father was smart. God bless my daddy for doing that. I credit him with, now my family's blueprint was not that. My family is an immigrant family. It's all education. My dad is a 35-year educator, retired as a principal out of the Boston, Massachusetts school system. Their blueprint was, look, save money, get a good job, 2.5 kids, white picket fence dog, like very like calm, as it should be, because the way they grew up in Haiti was very volatile.
Mm,
Um, but it was those two catalytic things. And I'm saying this in reflection. I can't totally tell you, but the traveling that time, I kept a journal. I've never kept a journal ever since. Don't know why. I still have it. And then the realization that money was a tool to create time and space for you to live life the way that you want.
mhm,
It stuck with me. Now, I will give myself credit in hindsight of, and this is why I interview people on my podcast recently who have a lot to say about neuroplasticity and the way our minds work and things of that nature. I always had the mindset of, yeah, I'm just going to do shit and I'll just course correct along the way. Like
mhm,
I don't have analysis paralysis. If I feel an emotion, I know now in hindsight what it is. It's alignment. While I thought I was following my gut to do all those things, all I was doing was just aligning with the person that I truly was.
mhm.
Now, what people do, this is what I think happens with adults, especially with the 300 or so people that I've coached in one way or the other, and the people that I, let's say, worked with in corporate and stuff. They're muting themselves. They are muting themselves in favor of the opinions of peers, coworkers, neighbors, and even family telling them what they're supposed to be. My parents said the exact same thing. What do you mean you want to be a police officer? You have a good job. Don't do that. What do you mean you want to invest in real estate? You have a good 401k. Don't do that. What do you mean you want to own a restaurant and club just because you want to learn what it takes to do it? Don't do that. Everybody putting their fears on you. So what 23-year-old me did that I'm very proud of him for, he just put blinders on. He stopped talking,
Hmm.
started doing, and over 17 years, and this is what we're saying, I never told anybody. All those things that you just read in my very gracious intro, while it was happening, I didn't tell a lot of people. I just did it. Right. So
Hmm.
it's not like I was on this journey and I was Instagramming and no, man, I was just like, I think I should live life. This feels good. I think our job is to feel good on a day-to-day basis. Man, you
Yeah.
can do this and make more money, but I'm like, if I make money that way, it doesn't feel good. I don't like that. That doesn't feel right to me. So, bottom line is, I just kept following my instinct on what would feel good to me. I didn't like the notion of we're going to do one thing, live in one place, be one person, strive for one title. Why? Now I look back on my life book at age 49, I'm like, damn, that's pretty good what I've done so far. And now I do the same thing. I don't talk too much about the things that I'm doing right now in the moment because I want to do them. And then I'll talk about them when they're, or maybe not. I'll talk about them when they're done. So just, I had those catalytic events. I didn't realize what was happening in the moment, but someone convinced me to start posting about it. And that's what has kind of led to all this stuff that you know about now.
There's 2 points I wanna, visit in your life, but
Yeah.
just to reflect on what you just said, it's kind of funny. For
Mm,
me, I can relate a lot to what you just said because I've got ADHD, and had I tried to
mm.
envision the whole journey to get here 8 years ago and wrote down everything, if I knew, gosh darn everything that I had to go through, I would have never started. I was so
Yeah.
ADHD that I didn't even think. It's just like, "Oh, go." I was not as analytical at the time. I was just like, "I'll just go, 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 go." And that was a skill set at the time because I was just like, all right, we're just going to figure this out and hit the go button. I didn't think about how hard it was going to be. Luckily at the
Yeah.
time, I didn't have any kids or anything, risks. I just said, hit the go button and go. And so many people, I feel like, are not able to do that because they stop and they start imagining all the things that can go wrong. And they put all these obstacles in the way that aren't really there, and they imagine everything going horrible, and then they just don't do anything. There's no catalyst to kind of get them going. The
Mm,
first moment I'm curious about, on the
Mm-hmm.
show, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs listening, a lot of people who want to reach financial freedom, is it
Yeah.
talks about doing the work. What did the work look like to get to
Oh shit,
financial
man.
freedom?
It was hard. I don't get emotional about it anymore, but I will admit that when I started talking on people's podcasts and even my own, that every time I would talk about my journey, I would tear up. And the reason I would tear up was because people didn't see the I can feel the emotion. I'm not going to cry, but people didn't see the I would get up, go to Accenture all day, maybe do real estate at lunch, get back on the train, get my then one son, who by the way is autistic, so it was even more of a challenge. Do homework with him and all the things I had to do. Go to sleep at 7 p.m. for an hour and a half. Wake up, put on my police uniform, go to roll call, break roll call with my brothers and sisters, and then be out on the street till like 2, 3 in the morning, and then try and lean my chair back, get a little bit of sleep, assuming we weren't busy with robberies or DUIs and all that, which was never the case. Um, and then finally get home at 6, sleep for an hour, wake up, take care of my son, get him off, go to court, put on my suit, go to court. Usually I wasn't needed for the whole day. There were sometimes I was needed, so I'd have to call into Accenture and be like, I can't come, but I wouldn't tell them why. I would sign in, get my time and a half, and then I would walk to the metro, which was behind the courthouse, and then go to Accenture and press repeat. That's not simple. Now, in the Try Life On mantra, I have all this listing of Try Life On principles. And one of the principles is life is something that you practice. It's not a destination. It's not. I just told you something, and probably in your mind, you're like, that's some extraordinary shit. That's ridiculous. But what I'm trying to tell you, Brandon, and now when I tell you this, I guarantee you're going to spot something in your life that matches this, which is you can make your extraordinary ordinary by having systematic patience and just repeating it over and over and over. And you develop a rhythm. My rhythm of it got so good that when I was tired, for example, I never took a chance when I was tired to be on patrol, because I'll get to the financial freedom thing, but because I had men and women who I was responsible to back them up. I couldn't be tired. So then I would take PTO and vacation strategically. I got really good at it. So I knew my rhythm. I was usually good for about 48 hours and I would crash. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do this day. I'm going to switch this day with this other officer. I'll do on the weekend so I can fly to Denver for my Accenture client, or so I can go to eviction court for my real estate stuff. It's a rhythm. I figured out that life is a rhythm. So everything you see me post, including financial freedom related stuff, is because I figured that one point out. Life is a rhythm. Where I have a superpower is my ability to be systematically patient in executing and learning the rhythm of things. I'll do shit for 20 years until I figure it out. That's how I got
Mm-hmm.
really good at it. The financial freedom, so I want to throw that out there, because your entrepreneurs who are struggling and stressed and all that, they're stressed because they want the outcome in 7 days. What I wanted was the rhythm to finally get to some outcome that I was detached from in the future. I wanted the experience, man. I was unwilling to give up. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Makes sense. How did you know that you were doing the right things? Because a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, well, do I just need to muscle through it and keep pushing, or do I need to pivot? Do I need to start
I mean,
doing some different
I could.
actions? I mean, that's like, I'm like, how did this guy survive at night, working all day, two kids,
Yeah.
sleeping for a couple hours, and then the cop thing? I know that you were very passionate about the cop thing in your early 30s, and that's why you wanted to pursue being like a police officer. But
Hmm,
was
hmm.
the emotion and pursuit of the extraordinary what was like guiding you? Or were there some moments where like, this sucks and I need to change things, or I can
Yes.
see the silver
Yes, yes,
lining
yes,
and I
yes,
need to.
yes, 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 yes. Brother. Year 5 when I was a police officer, but I want to compound that with real estate, Accenture, being a father, all that. Year 5 of my police officerness, because it was still full time, the two main gigs. I was breaking. I was breaking apart. I was totally breaking apart. But actually, no, I was breaking apart. For entrepreneurs out there or people who are in the W-2 world and corporate and you're trying to do something and it sucks and you hurt, yes, we break apart. I was breaking apart Fortunately, I had a really good romantic partner. I had a really good family. My kids were, because Noah was around by then, my little one, my kids were very supportive. I had a good inner circle. And I also had, I told you, man, now I call it faith, but I was very stubborn in my systematic patience to get things done. And also in reflection, I now realize that I was detached from the outcome. It wasn't about like, okay, so I'm not gonna even gonna go to the apartment complex stuff. I'm gonna go just to the single family stuff that I did to get on
Mhm.
my financial freedom journey. The financial freedom journey, similar to everything else I'm talking about, was not about the outcome of let me buy all these pieces of property. It was I think I can buy these pieces of property and I think I can pay them off, but I don't know what the F is gonna happen down the road. I don't know. So much so, Brandon, when 2008 came along and half my tenants stopped paying, I was like, oh my God, this cannot be happening to me. I had, I think I had 20 places at the time, and half my tenants stopped paying, and I had 100 grand in the bank, doing the right things, always being liquid, right? Yeah, but that 100 grand depleted so fast because I was covering all these mortgages. I had to call like 20 banks and be like, I need y'all to work with me. I had to stop paying mortgages to get these people to pay attention. I was like, I'm not gonna make it unless you guys help because there's a financial crisis. I'm trying to do the right things. I need you to help me. I was detached from the outcome. I just knew that my life was more than sitting in a cube. So many times I thought about giving up and being like, man, you got a great job at Accenture. You make at the time maybe like 140, you'll be fine. Like quit everything, dump it all. Like just file foreclosure on all of it or file bankruptcy and let it go. I was like, F no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm glad I didn't. So what I would tell your entrepreneurs, the only thing that's going to keep you going is your why. That's why I do that 10-step thing and I always put the why at the top. My why was I wanted life. I wanted those experiences. It had zero to do with money. If your why is money, you're eventually going to fail because when you chase money, it runs. But I was chasing life. I was chasing emotions. I was chasing feelings. So I was unwilling to give up. That way, on occasion, 48, 72 hours, I didn't sleep and it really didn't bother me. I was just like, nah, this is what I got to do in the moment and I'll catch up on sleep on Friday.
Mhm.
It was worth it. Financial freedom journey was just me buying single family homes, having that realization, buying condos, little ones, 80 grand to like 120 in the DC area. My realtor at the time, God bless her, and I love her, and I don't know her name, and wherever I think she's passed by now, but I'm so grateful to this woman. I have gratitude, and I hope one day I get to hug her again because she told me when I bought like seven, and I was like, can you come with me to DC so we can do a 300, 400, $500,000 one? She was like, Maurice, don't do that. What you mean? I'm gonna make money. She's like, yeah, but if you keep buying these little ones and you pay them off, you're gonna make yourself a pension. Now, my dad has a pension as a principal. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm gonna get a pension. So I have this
Yeah.
apartment, 1,100 bucks a month. I'm gonna pay it off. That's 1,100 bucks a month for life. It clicked. So man, I just never stopped buying them, paying them off, buying them, paying them off systematically, using my paycheck, buying them, paying them off, little bit, little bit, little bit. This one appreciates, sold this, paid off these ones, didn't go buy a car, sold this one, took the money, paid off the mortgage for that one. And then
Yeah.
by 2014, it was 13 grand a month. So it was like, I did okay.
I love it. That was very clear step by step roadblocks. You heard what he said right there. He was going in, looking at purchasing what I would kind of say like annuities. He called it like a pension plan, but I've got
Yeah.
cash flow coming in. How do I pay those off where there's no debt on them?
Mm-hmm.
Over the years with my job, with some appreciation from some others that I can use, sell, and pay down the other ones. And you built up that cash flow up to where you could eventually quit your job, the $13,000 a month. Very, very articulate there. I want to go to the next step. Every
Yeah.
time in somebody's life,
Mm,
they compare it to a hockey stick. Every super successful person like yourself that I talk to, there's a hockey
mm.
stick type graph. And I'm sure you're familiar with this where it's like go, 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 you're growing, you're growing, you're growing. And boom, at some point it just takes off. It's the handle part of that hockey stick. What did that section right before the hockey stick taking off look like for you? What did life look like? What were you doing? What did your business look like? I know you're financially
Yeah.
free at this point, so you had the time to quit your job and focus 100% on your business. But what did that maybe year or two before hockey stick growth look like, and
But
what were you doing?
this is what I want people look. I didn't quit. That's my point. I didn't quit my job. Like I had financial freedom in
You kept going.
2014. I wanted the experience.
Mm.
Accenture was not my purpose. The company was not my purpose, but I was gaining so much skill. And I was also defining roles within the company. I said no to partner like 4 times because I was picking and defining and creating roles that would have me international because I wanted those experiences. I worked in Sweden, Finland, Norway, Hong Kong, Nigeria, and they told me, you're not going to get promoted. I was like, I don't care. I don't want entrepreneurs always thinking you have to burn the boats. In some cases, it does make sense. But in many cases, it doesn't make sense. There's nothing wrong with having the stability of a 9 to 5 healthcare. And I was fighting for my autistic son at the time legally and all this type of stuff and all that. But my hockey moment, the hockey stick moment, I will not forget it because in 2015-ish, somewhere in there, I maybe 16, I just kind of maybe I had brain fog that day, but I kind of woke up and then I realized I had not looked at my bank account in 6 months. Like I hadn't looked at my Accenture paychecks for months because real estate money has started to come in and I started using that for basic needs and stuff. And then I was like, so I went to go look where my company was depositing my checks, including the military, including the police department. There was like 60 grand there. Just, I forgot. I didn't real so you're right. So I had this very steady thing that was happening. And as I was paying off these properties, it all started to compound on itself, to include my
Mm-hmm.
own 401k and stuff like that, and other stuff that I was doing. And all of a sudden, around age 41, this started to happen. And I saw my net worth rising at a pace that I was like, my net worth just doubled 3 times in 2.5 years. That's insane because the market was good, values of properties were going up. I started making 200 grand at my company, but I didn't need the 200 grand. So what I was doing with the 200 grand, I took, no kidding, 70% of what I was getting from my quote unquote employers, and I invested it in real estate because I didn't need it. So everything blew up. And you would think at that moment that I would be like, nah, man, I'm going to go buy myself a new car finally, do this. And I didn't
No.
buy a house until 2008, 17-ish,
Yeah.
because I knew one day I'm not going to be working. So let me maximize this thing as much as I can until the day that I get out.
Do you feel like going back that you wish you, well, I guess the job enabled you to get the experiences. The job is what allowed
Yes.
you to travel to all the countries. That was because I was going to ask you, I was like, why not just quit your job and do more of what leads you? But that was the tool to allow you to experience all those different countries and those cultures. And that was part of
Mm.
it. Like that's why you kind of kept the job is because you wanted to do that. Is that fair to say?
No, it's not fair to say. I will tell you that I use the jobs to have international and other experiences, but I was the guy who would do things like Wednesday night, leave DC, fly to Helsinki, Finland, take a bus up to the north. I'd be in the Arctic for like 2 days, come back, get on a plane, and I'd be back at work on Monday.
Yeah.
Because I knew, remember I told you, remember that experience in France when I was 14? It's like I want to go learn more about the world. I want to have more experiences with people. I want to build more meaningful relationships. So while I leveraged Accenture, being a federal agent, running field offices for my agency, so I ran field offices in Turkey and Africa and stuff. I leveraged those for more experiences, but in the cracks, I was always doing it anyway.
Mm.
We can design our life such that our employment, our personal time, our family time revolves around meaningful experiences and relationships. And for someone who is relatively successful in our societal standard, I say relative because it doesn't matter, but relatively successful in our societal standards, I'm telling you, all the career success, you get there and you're like, Okay. It does. It's the things that matter to you, and the things that matter to the people I look up to, who are mentors in their mid to late 60s, is not the money. It's not the titles. It's the experiences and the relationships that the money and titles enabled them to have.
Yeah.
Nobody's in a retirement home thinking about their money. Everybody's in there thinking about the shit they didn't do, the regret that they have. I don't have regret. That's my only fear. I'm not afraid of bullets. I'm not afraid of bombs. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of briefing a CEO, briefing a four-star general, fighting a school system for my son's rights for education. The only thing I'm afraid of is regret. I can't. We got 28,000 days in the average lifetime. I'm 49. I got 10,300 and change left. And you want me to go out there and posture with someone about getting a title? Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
People make that mistake. I love what you said about experiences because I've been doing this for gosh, over 10 years now. I
Yeah.
realized earlier on that life was about the experiences. And it's kind of funny because coming full circle, I'm reading the book Die with Zero right now. And I'm literally
Oh,
pointing at some of the stuff.
yes,
And
yes. Yeah.
I'm like, I figured this out a long time ago. Woohoo for me. So for me, one of my measuring
Great book.
sticks, my mom is a history teacher, loves history. You know, they grew up, same thing, nickel and dimed everything. And now I've take her on trips every single year. We go somewhere historic that she's always taught about for 30 years in the school system, but never had the money to actually go and visit. Like we're going to go to
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio, go to the Alamo here in a few weeks and just have a lot of fun and just immerse ourselves in history. We've been to Savannah,
Yeah.
all these cool places. I do that with my mom every single year and she looks forward to it. My dad, we end up going somewhere on his bucket list. He's a big bourbon guy. Last year I took him to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail and just to see his face light up learning the history and walking the distilleries and actually sampling the bourbons that he's never got
Yeah.
to go and actually try was so stinking cool. I'm going to Sedona, Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm.
No, Sedona, Arizona. That's over near there. Sedona, Arizona, because it's
Mm-hmm.
somewhere that my sisters always wanted to travel to. We do a annual brother sister trip every year. You know, I take my wife on a bucket list. I travel about 6 weeks a year with my loved ones who are very close to me, and we go do
Mm-hmm.
something on somebody's bucket list because when I die, I thought, how cool would it be to be on my deathbed with 50, 60 experiences over the years, bucket list stuff, life-changing trips with those that I love. What do you
You,
do? What does yours look like?
I don't take vacations. I don't I
No,
haven't
your
taken.
experiences though. Like what are you like what are those experiences that you're wanting to build that you've learned that you want to get out of life?
Oh man. You know, brother, I want to have emotions.
Mhm,
I want to feel good. Like not tomorrow, but on Thursday I'm gonna fly to the Eastern Mediterranean, not because I have something specific to do there, but because I want to invest in the relationships that I have there, and I just
mhm.
want to put my feet in the Mediterranean, see where I belong. It's not that, and I'm travel hacking that trip. That trip's probably gonna cost me like $400 in business round trip. Okay, so it's not like, oh, he has money, he's gonna. No, that has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with. You know what I loved about what you just said was that rhythm of you traveling 6 weeks. I would encourage you to do it even more. But when I travel, sometimes I travel not because I need to travel that weekend, that week, that month. Sometimes I'm doing it because I'm practicing.
Mhm.
It's not an easy concept for people to understand. The airport is a bus station, as far as I'm concerned, and an airplane is just a bus with wings.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So the world to me is not this gigantic thing in our mind where, oh my God, if we're going to the airport, it's this massive event. For me, I don't even have tickets to get on a plane on Thursday. I'll probably figure them out tomorrow night or the day of because I know how to travel hack and stuff, and I'll just go. We should feel that way. So when you say, what is it that you do? It's that. So 2 weekends ago, when I posted on this, I think maybe you caught it. I'm not sure. I had a 5 day window where I was not with my. So I have an older son who's up and out on his own, and then I have an 11-year-old who I take care of. Right? But he was with family for 5 days, so he didn't need me around. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go explore. I'm out. So I went to the airport. I got a $5.60 business ticket on miles. I flew from DC to Paris with no itinerary. I get to Paris and I'm like, man, it's raining here. So the flight to Greece is not happening. I could stay in Paris, but the weather is horrible. I won't feel good. The thing that was available was Beirut, where I know a lot of people. So I flew to Beirut. So I end up flying to Beirut. I drive north to get to the coastal area, which is about an hour and a half north. I call a friend, and the running group that I used to run with is running that Saturday morning. So I meet with them at 6 a.m. to run a 5K. Okay, so we start running on the 5K. I finished the 5K, but we're still running, and my friends encourage me, like, well, you just keep running. Because I'm a bigger dude. I'm like 235 and I love to deadlift and all that type of stuff. Running's not my thing.
Mm.
I just keep running. And when I look at my watch at some point, I'm like, oh shoot, I ran 11 miles. Let me keep going because I've never done a half marathon. I don't want to do a half marathon. That's a lot of
Yeah, just squeeze
mileage.
out a couple more and you
Why not? But that's what makes me happy because I just have this mentality of like, let's go live, let's go feel, let's go explore. Like you and I used to do when we used to ride bikes around the neighborhood and play hide and seek, or what I used to call Relivio. I still do it as an adult in my own way. So because of it, I accidentally ran a half marathon and then made friends for life. And then got back on a plane 2 days later to take my kid to school. That's what makes me happy. Exploration, doing things, not sitting in one place. Nothing wrong with Costco, but I don't want my weekends to be filled with Costco runs. I
Yeah.
can't live that way. I like Costco. We need it, but I don't want to live that way my whole life.
Amazon delivery. It goes to my door and I don't go to the grocery store. I
My
love
man.
it.
Me too. Me too, actually. Yeah.
So for those that feel like they're getting this and it's starting to make a little bit more sense, but maybe they're struggling with how to build this
Hmm.
life, how to make the
Hmm.
changes that they need. They feel like they're stuck in the. I know that you, and I was looking at your website. You have tons of amazing reviews with people who've worked with you and done the coaching to help break through. What are some examples, some ways that you work with clients to help them design the life that
Oh,
they want?
well, okay. So I go to trylifeon.com, go to newsletter 18, and it's the guide to building your perfect day. Now, the notion of writing or scripting your perfect day goes back to the word you said, which was imagination. You said that in some capacity. Our imagination is the most beautiful tool and the most powerful tool in the world, period. You and I are talking on through a computer and with microphones because somebody imagined it at some point. We
Yeah.
talk on our iPhones because somebody imagined it. There's a car because somebody imagined it. You can also imagine your life, but the key to imagining your life when you write it down is to write down the pieces of it. You take the restraints off. You go back to the 10-year-old you used to be, who used to ride around the neighborhood on bikes and stuff, and you write down the things, the places, the people, the types of life you want to have, and the emotions that will come from that thing. If you can do that, and if you can ingest that emotion into your psyche, your subconscious, your mind, what have you, write down goals related to it. There are just blockers to those goals, as you alluded to. That's where my superpower comes in, is that I don't care about blockers. Blockers are literally itty bitty problems that we just have to solve a solution for. And it typically comes from lack of information or lack of a relationship, period. You get over the blocker, then you hit the goal. You hit the goal, then conceivably you have the framework for the lifestyle you don't need a vacation from because you're hitting that perfect day. So what I've done is give people a framework that they can have the mindset that I've cultivated for myself over the past 3 decades of, yeah, I'm not doing status quo. I refuse. There's no reason I can't make my extraordinary ordinary. There is none. It's just that all the other programming that we have told us, go be the executive VP in the cube. There's nothing wrong with being an executive VP. I just say that facetiously, but I like, if you want to be a painter, be a painter. If you want to own a coffee shop, try to own it. I failed mine miserably, but I'm so glad that I tried it, right?
Yeah.
So the way that I help people design their life is perfect day, freedom goals around those 5 freedoms. What are your blockers? Great. I am not the kind of person that you will work with who's like, I don't know how to solve. No, we're going to get rid of all these flipping blockers. It doesn't matter if it's somebody in my network, something I've done. I am unapologetic about the fact that people need to be living the way that we truly need to be living, period. And sometimes as adults, we need someone who doesn't give a shit behind us to say, why are we talking about this? Go do it, get it done, get rid of the blocker and call me back. And it works. So newsletter 18, And then if people are inclined, go to Try Life On podcast episode 23, because one of my coaching clients allowed me to put his whole story on the podcast where he did his perfect day, his goals, his blockers, and then he talked about how the whole process led him and his wife and kids to building this life between Arizona and Jamaica. It's pretty cool, actually.
Man, that sounds fascinating. So, for those that want to learn, I mean, you kind of just named it right here. You know, I want to ask you this question. Do
Yeah.
you notice that there's a certain type of client that reaches out to you more often? Like, is it someone who owns their own
Yeah.
business, or is it somebody who's like working a W-2 job, trying to free them up with that? Like, what are you noticing?
It's people between typically people between like 32 and 55, and they have gotten to some relative point in their career where they realize, what the F am I doing here?
Mhm.
How did I, there's nothing wrong with it, but I've done everything I was told to do. I went to high school, I got my degree, or I went to technical school, I got this
Yeah.
good career, I'm a good husband or a good wife or whatever. Why does life not feel different?
Mhm.
And somehow they may have been tracking me on social media. They sense Maurice's relative. He doesn't give an F about status quo kind of living. This is what he did. He's really trying to help people. And then they snap and they get to the point like, I need help. And
Mhm.
I'm so, you know why I love it and why I never did group coaching? Because people's lives are so unique and so individualistic, which is our benefit of being on this world. I think I'm a man of faith, so I think our imagination is God presenting himself through each and every one of us. Sometimes people just need an excuse. Sometimes
Yeah.
people need someone to push or a model or whatever. And I serve as an excuse for a lot of people, but it's people who've reached a frustration point.
Cool. No, that's hey, if that sounds like you, Maurice, one more time, if they're interested in learning more about you, learning more about Try
Yeah.
Life On, they want to listen to your podcast, where can they go?
Yeah, so they can go to trylifeon.com or the Try Life On podcast. And I'm very active on LinkedIn just talking about this stuff. And yeah, and I whether you whether you work with me or just read the stuff or find somebody else or go into real estate, I actually think that 90% of the people who go into real estate is not because of real estate, but because they're looking for a different life.
Yeah.
I didn't go into real estate for real estate. I went into real estate because I wanted to control my own life. Like we're all looking for some relative control. And not everybody who listens to you on your platform is going to resonate with what I'm saying. But what I'm suggesting is go find something else that you resonate with. Formal
Yeah.
education is wonderful, but self-education is the thing that's going to free you. Listen to alternative thoughts of thinking. I don't when the herd goes right, if your heart and your gut and your instinct is telling you to go left, there's a reason it's doing that. You got to follow it and then find the Brandons, find the Maurices, find another resource that can help you cultivate that mindset, lead you to inspired action, and then you end up creating lifestyle for yourself that you don't need a vacation from. And frankly, that's where we should all be. We should all be at this point like, man, I'm grateful there was a 1 in 4 trillion chance that I was born and I'm executing on it and it feels good. So it's not me. It's just stop with the status quo junk. Just go live and find resources to help you do that.
I think my biggest takeaway from you was being a little bit more deliberate and paying attention to what gives me emotion. I'm already present and I've built
Yeah.
some pretty cool stuff that I'm very proud of, but just being a little bit more deliberate, how to bring in more of that. Like I wrote down, this year, I wanted to make business more fun because I'm so
Yeah.
on the next thing. Okay, phone call. Let's get straight to the point. Let's knock this out. 'Cause I'm a productivity junkie. I'm like, how do I
Mm-hmm.
efficientize
Mm-hmm.
my day? I just made that word up. Efficientize if you're listening to this. How do I get as much done in one day as possible? And I noticed that I just wasn't having as many genuine reactions or interactions because it was just on to the next thing. How do I cram as much stuff and get those productivity dopamine hits? That's something that I'm going to do and pay attention to more.
Yeah. And
My friend,
you
go ahead.
did ask if you just let me say one more thing. You did ask me like if you want to, Maurice, what do you want to tell people? I do want to say one thing. For everything that we talked about on my journey, which feels like a lot, when I hear it, I'm like, that sounds exhausting because it was. And then for like the, 250, $300 million of real estate I've been involved in over the past few years, I want people to know, like, I don't want to do anymore. There comes a point where uh it's minimal return unless you are trying to affect a massive population or something like that.
Yeah.
Like for the 100 or for the 150 or whatever $1 million of investor money that I have, and I don't want anymore. I'm actually downscaling. I find myself shifting down. I find myself clearing my schedule. I find myself like I really like wake surfing. So even in the winter, I will find a way to wake surf. I find myself doing less business in favor of more life. And one of the reasons that's happening, and you don't have to get to my level. I've had people in the past. I can never forget this guy at Accenture. He did the condo thing with me. He bought 4 luxury condos, sold one, paid off two, and then 10 years of Accenture, he paid off the other one, had 5 grand of passive, 4 grand of passive. He moved to Thailand. He was a bartender. Like that was his version of success. And he has like 4 or 5 kids now. Um, I don't want people to think they have to do all this. You don't.
Yeah.
You just and even me, where I am on my journey, I'm like, nah, I just kind of want to spend time with the Brandons of the world now. 99% of like ventures that show up my way, or Mo go on this trip or do this, I'm like, nah, I'm good. There's diminishing return of constant self-growth forever.
Hmm.
It doesn't, your job, yes, grow. I want you to grow, but recognize growth to a negative point too. So my focus now is more life. It's less growth, more life. You know what I mean?
It,
So I wanted
it's
to throw that out there because I've done a lot, and I don't want people to think they have to go through everything I went through. That's not the case.
it's diminishing returns, and they talk about it in this book I Was Zero,
Yeah,
where if you
zero.
look at
Yeah.
money as an energy source, I mean, it's life energy. When you die and you leave a giant pile of money there for your kids or whoever, it's not just a pile of money, it's a pile of unused life experiences or whatever material objects, if
Yes.
that's your thing. And people make these huge mistakes. They go, oh, I want to, what about the kids? I want to leave it to the kids. Average age of inheritance in the United States when they get their parents' money is 60 years old. Your kids don't need your money at 60. They're about to retire. Take
Yeah.
money at 50 or even 40. If you really want to do that, then help them out early on in life. I think 32 to
That's
like, or
it.
25 to 36 was like the prime age when you like need,
You got
financial
it.
help.
You
And
got it,
there's no
brother.
sense in doing that. Or if you want, as you're older, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you do want to leave your kids money, don't wait. Go ahead and give them the money, give them whatever you're
Yes.
going to give them, and then the rest is yours to spend how you want and create and build this life you want. To your point, you don't have to be a world traveler or go and be a bartender over in Thailand. It's what you said.
It's whatever you want.
Pace
Yeah.
your emotions. Pay
Yes.
attention to what sparks you, makes you feel alive, and
Mm-hmm.
pursue that thing. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, thanks
Um,
for letting me add that at the end. I wanted to say that to make sure people don't just chase stuff for the sake of it.
Dude, this has been an awesome episode, Maurice. I want to thank you for coming on the show and
Yeah,
sharing your gold nuggets and your life wisdom. Thanks for coming on today.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
And if you get value from this episode, show Maurice some love, show me some love, share this episode, leave us a review, share it with your friends and family, subscribe. We will see you guys next time.